ticket prices right now with
Jesus, have
and
you seen that? Is
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
Ticket prices are just like insane right now.
Tom Brady effect. So yeah. Yeah, so I'm more than
Yeah.
willing to just watch it in front of my,
Yeah,
big
I know.
big
I know.
screen.
Vegas is off on my list. I can already tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'll go get one of those Zumba. What are those little shop vac things that you run around the house and stuff? Because that's
Uh-huh.
kind of what the stadium looks like. And I'll just get one of those, man. And it just
Right?
that's my gonna be my Las Vegas experience.
There you go.
Because I just can't see paying that much money
Right.
for some of these tickets. It's just crazy. Even New Orleans is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
I agree. I agree. But yeah, I probably take the safe route and yeah, I wouldn't risk it, Especially with me, I'm a little bit more prone cuz I'm a diabetic, so I would, I'd probably lean on the safe side.
yeah. I'm kind of the same way, man. I
Mhm.
mean, I normally catch games, but just with everything that's going on, and I know a lot of people that have lost loved ones, and a lot
Right.
of people that have lost friends, and this is no joke. So um, I am taking this very seriously, and that's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't force my opinion on other people, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I am excited because we've got football coming up. So
Yeah, yeah, it is exciting. I hope they can, I hope we can have some type of training camp and stuff like that where
yeah.
they can, at least have some type of preseason and, you can really, um, you don't have to rush into things as far as just starting right away, into the season. And, I hope that's what takes place. But we will see. Again, this is a very fluid process.
Right.
A lot of things are up in the air.
Yeah, the one thing that I do like about all this is that um, we do have a bunch of veterans on this team. You have consummate professionals.
Hmm.
You got people that have been in the been within the system for for a year or more,
Hmm.
and I'm really hoping that factors in. Tom Brady, I think Tom Brady will be just fine. I'm not so much concerned about him.
Hmm.
Maybe getting with his receivers, maybe getting on the same page with his receivers, but I think that will come. And I just I'm not as concerned about that as I am with being able to get contact and being able to go out and know for the rookies that are coming in, learn the playbook and that kind of thing. I think that's one of the things that you don't have. So
Hmm.
again, I go back and forth with it, but I'm very optimistic that it'll work itself out. I feel like you've got a bunch of guys on this team that they want to win now. You've got
Hmm.
a bunch of guys that are a lot more aggressive, and they're not going to take losing lying down. So that's something I'm hoping for here. As we get into the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think I look at it this way. I think for the key for the team to start fast, it's obviously can that defense pick up where they left off, from last year as far as the second half goes. And when you look at the defense, it's pretty much the same unit coming back. I mean, you have pretty much every starter returning. You might have maybe one or two new starters, but for the most part, you got that same group together, and they should be able to pick up and start pretty good. And maybe that's going to be the key early on in the season. The defense plays well enough to, give the offense opportunities to win games late, at the end of the game and finish them out instead of, throwing the games away at the end. So,
Yeah,
but I think that'll be a big key. And obviously a concern of mine is will the team be able to get into football shape? That is very important, and it's different from being in shape versus football shape because you got
it's
to,
a lot more grueling.
yeah, you got to go out there and do it. And so that's why I'm hoping they'll have an opportunity, to play a little bit before the season starts and get into that football shape.
I know one guy that I know is in football shape or is going to be in football shape, and that's Ron Jones.
Oh yeah.
Uh, being here, being here in Arizona, and knowing what this heat is ridiculous.
Hmm.
This heat is crazy, and just watching him going out there with reps and everything like that, I'm excited. I want to see what he can do, but the heat here is ridiculous, and he's just out there practicing in it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it's a different style of heat over there in Arizona. So yeah, I'm really excited about Ronald Jones. I
Yeah.
think he's got an opportunity to again progress forward and take that new step that he kind of showed last year, and I think he's going to try to put it all together this season. And yeah, I think he really wants to be the guy where he gets a lot
I
more
think he can.
reps.
I think he can be the guy. I feel like
Hmm.
with the with the amount of turnovers the Buccaneers suffered, they had to get away from the running game.
Yeah, it was
It
tough for
was
him.
not. It was not any fault of his. I felt like that's kind of where everything was pointed to because of all the turnovers and field position. You couldn't get into your running game, and
Right.
I think that played a huge factor because he was night and day from his rookie season to the next season. I thought he looked great. And again, I think that's going to factor in this year. And my hope is that you cut down on the turnovers. It gives him more of an opportunity to be implemented into the game, and you'll
Right.
get to see a little bit more of him. Alonzo Robertson said, "Does the lack of prep time predicate the offense to be more run heavy early in the season?"
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the run game. I think, and it's like you said. I mean, if the Bucks can take better care of the football, I think the run game just it's gonna manifest automatically, and I think it's
I
gonna
totally
be.
agree.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be there. I think obviously with the defense being a little bit better, I think that's gonna help if they can start faster, and so I think the opportunities are gonna be there to run the football, especially having a guy in Tom Brady that you have to respect just because of what he's done in this league. And there's going to
Yeah,
be more opportunities as far as running lanes go, because that box is not going to be as packed as it has been in the past, because Tom Brady, he knows how to make adjustments, audibles, and knows how to take advantage of what he sees out there.
that's you took the words right out of my mouth because I was
Mhm.
thinking pre-snap reads.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that we know that he'll shred a defense if they give him the chance. And again, when you're making improvements along the offensive line as well,
Mhm.
I think as you mentioned, taking care of the ball is going to be huge, and it's going to it helps every facet of the game. So
Right.
that's definitely something to look forward to. XLU Garvey, what's going on? Antonio Santiago and Sean Castillo, thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me throughout my technical difficulties here. And if you're just joining us, I am joined by Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk,
What's up,
real good
guys?
friend of the show. He was here for the best part of the Bucs. What you heard, he's been here for throughout all that, and I really appreciate it. Somebody that I think you should follow if you get a chance to hit him up on Twitter, and just make sure that you're following him. It's a great follow. So we're talking about this. What did you think of the draft? What was your take on the draft?
I think it was solid. Kind very, I would say balance, which was good. I think obviously trading up one spot to get what some people called the best offensive lineman in the draft as far as prospects go, to get Tristan Wirfs. I think that was a good fortune for the Buccaneers, because he could have easily been gone in the top 10.
Yeah.
And there was reports that the Bucks were trying to trade up all the way up to number 7 or 8, to get the top offensive lineman. I'm not sure if they would have taken worse at with that trade up, but to get Tristan, I think that was a good move. Looking at the second round pick, I think Antoine Winfield was another slam dunk. I think that was an obvious pick. Again, you look at it at that point in time, you don't really think they're going to take a safety there. I know a lot of people are saying running back or maybe a defensive lineman, but
But
when
you
you
got to
look
look at the long game, though. You got to look for the
Mhm.
future of the Buccaneers. I think that's a rock solid pick. I mean,
Yeah,
regardless of
yeah.
and regardless of who's going to be here, if it's Arians or somebody his apparent heir apparent or
Mhm.
whatever they do, you're going to have a solid secondary or somewhat solid secondary as on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the pick. I was very happily surprised that they took him. I thought he was the best player on the board when their pick was up. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that. I think he's going to be a really good impact player early on. You look at their third round pick. I think Keyshawn Vaughn.
Uh,
Obviously that was one that got questioned, but when you look at the tape, I mean, he's a really good player. I think he was in a
he's
bad
a home run guy.
yeah, he was in a bad situation with Vanderbilt. It was very tough on him, and he still produced. I mean, he produced over 2,000 yards in his last 2 seasons, so combined. So
When you look at Vanderbilt,
mhm,
the cupboard is bare. There is
very
nobody at Vanderbilt but
very
him.
bare. Yeah, yeah,
And you've got this guy. You've got this guy who you may bottle him up, but eventually he's going to break one, and
hmm
he's a home run guy. That's just who he is. Alonzo Robertson was asking, "Can you jump out of the pool like Tristan?" No, bro. Maybe on the first step before you get out of the pool, I can probably do that. But no, I'm not in 4 feet of water. That's not happening.
yeah. Same here. I can't do that either. Yeah.
No, but again, that to me was one of the guys that I'm really got my eye on to watch him and see how he progresses.
Yeah.
Is just Keyshawn Vaughn. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just watching what he can do, man. And I mean, he was breaking huge chunks. I mean, when he was at Illinois, he was doing similar things. So
Right.
here's a guy that I really believe that he can. He could be somebody that the Bucs can get a lot of use out of. To be honest.
Yeah, and then I mean, you continue on. Obviously, we had no fourth round picks. We used it
Mhm.
on Rob Gronkowski, so that's a solid fourth round pick right there.
Right.
And then you go into the fifth round, you get another steal, in my opinion, in Tyler Johnson, who I think is going to have great opportunities to produce early. Just because, to be honest, he's going to be open a lot because of what we have on the outside.
Yeah.
So excited for him. And then you go into the sixth round. I thought they got another, high impact guy that has a really motor and has upside to be developed as far as, a pass rushing defensive tackle, a guy that can, play in this system along the defensive front, and Khalil Davis. So I think that was a good pick. And then their seventh round picks, I think, again, are ideal for special teams. And
Mhm.
you need guys like that you can develop, over time and maybe potentially become impact guys. So, athletic, I would say the class was very athletic.
Mhm.
Guys that have upside, guys that have potential. And then there's guys that are ready to play now. And I think that's obviously Winfield, Vaughn, Tyler Johnson. I think those are your guys that are ready to play right now. Tristan Wirfs, and the other guys, I think need some more development, but they are going to be good if coached properly.
I have to ask you, in that number 3 wide receiver position, who do you like? I mean, just right off the bat, and I went sight unseen, and you're just looking at
Mm.
everybody on paper. Who do you like?
Well, I mean, they have a lot of options to go from, but I mean, right now, I like Tyler Johnson to get that spot. Obviously they still like Scotty Miller, but I see him being utilized on the outside as a guy to either substitute for either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, or if they just want to use Scotty, to run down the field. So I
Yeah,
think that's where he fits best is on the outside. I don't really see him as a slot receiver, even though they can use him there, but he's not real shifty. He's not really a
yeah.
shifty guy that,
He's just got
is
straight ahead speed.
right. And, but I mean, we'll see. Again, these guys are training, and again, guys improve going into their second year. So, we will see how it plays out. But right now, the early favorite, I would say, is Tyler Johnson. Um, but then you look at, what we have at the tight end position. So they have a lot of ways they can go. I mean, you can use Gronk in the slot. You can use OJ Howard there, Cam Brate. So there's a lot of different ways that they have in front of them to utilize.
Yeah, the tight end position is crazy. I mean,
Hmm.
you got OJ Howard, Rob Gronkowski, um, uh,
Cam Brate,
Cam Brate,
Anthony Auclair,
Anthony Auclair, and
Tanner
my
Hudson,
guy Tanner Hudson.
who might be cut.
Yeah,
So,
he's looking like the odd man out to me, if I
mhm,
if I had to say. Um, what is the draw for Anthony Auclair? I mean, for you, what you've seen from him on film,
mhm.
what because I see that he stuck around, a few times, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on, hey, why are they still looking at him, or is he still a viable option?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's one of the more complete tight ends on this roster. I think he's a guy that can block, he can catch. He's a just a serviceable tight end. He can do a lot of different things. Nothing outstanding. He doesn't have any elite traits, but he's a really good blocker, a really good force in the run game. And unfortunately, he got hurt. Last season, and that's kind of when the run game went kind of downhill.
Yeah.
He was a big part of it. So uh, I think that's why he stays on. Again, he's a guy that can do a little bit of everything, and
Hmm.
I think he's just a little bit more complete than, say, a Tanner Hudson, who is probably looking as like you said, the guy on the outside. Um, and then you have three great tight ends in front of him, or at least OJ with potential to be, and then you have Cam Brate again, who doesn't have elite traits, but he does things really well, and that's in the
He's
receiving game.
reliable, and
Yeah,
that speaks volumes right there. If you're
mhm,
reliable, that's the kind of player you want on the field, is somebody that, hey, I
right,
I know I can depend on him to, get us to wherever. And again, it all revolves around Tom Brady, and Tom Brady being able to distribute the ball to everybody that needs it.
right,
So I kind of wanted to, because we're kind of compacting all this in the off seasons, free agency, and free agency kind of speaks for itself.
right,
I thought the Bucs did really good. They fixed on paper they fixed the quarterback position. They've brought back players on defense that the Bucs really needed.
mhm,
I know a lot of people think that Shaquille Barrett is a one hit wonder. I believe this guy is the real deal. If he can
mhm,
stay healthy, I think he's going to continue to generate pressure on the quarterback and get sacks. I think there may be some underlying competition between him and JPP, and
mhm.
that remains to be seen. I can't wait to see how that all plays out. So, free agency, I thought the Bucs did what they needed to do. Some people were complaining about overpaying for certain players, but in the end, that's who the coaching staff thought they needed to get back in order to be successful. So they went after those players.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think they did the right things of bringing back, what they needed to on defense, getting, Ndamukong Suh back, JPP, Shaq Barrett. I think that was important.
Mm.
So, adding some pieces to the offense, obviously the quarterback, that's a big move. And, getting a Rob Gronkowski, bringing in a Joe Haig who can, provide depth along the offensive line. I think those were all smart moves. Again, didn't go after every player, which that's not what they needed to do. Again, it was about making sure they brought back the right guys, and I thought they did that. And yeah, really happy with it so far. Again, it reminds me a lot of what they did last off season, and I think they're on the right track to. I mean, you look at the roster; it's a pretty, for the most part, pretty complete roster, and as Bucks
Yeah.
fans, I think we have to be excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a long time to get here, but
Yeah,
we're finally here. I mean, when you go back to 2014 and you look at the cupboard was bare, as I,
oh
I
my
like to
god,
say,
it was so
and
bad. It was so bad.
then you jettison your whole offensive line and start all over from scratch. And
Right. Yeah.
geez, that took forever to even get to where we are right now. So
Mhm.
so many positions, so much going on, and it's crazy to see where were as a fan base watching this team in 2014 and looking at where they are right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Jason Light's body of work, I know he's had some misses, but how do you feel about him as the general manager? At this point, and you have a lot to compare him to. You can compare him to Mark Dominic or
Mhm.
Bruce Allen or Rich
Yeah.
McKay, which I try not to. Some of your other general managers. How do you feel that he fits into the lore of Tampa Bay Buccaneers history?
I mean, I got to give him credit because again, he's had some, like you said, some ups and downs. He's had some misses. You look at, from going back to 2014, like you said, he entered into a very tough situation from a roster standpoint. He brought on some free agents that obviously didn't work out. You had the Michael Johnson, you had the Anthony
Oh God, the
Collins.
ghost.
Yeah. So you had guys like that didn't pan out. You had Alteron Werner, guys like that just it just didn't work. And then you look at it from a draft standpoint, obviously, he brought on Jameis, he brought on some key pieces on the offensive line and Ali Marpet and Donovan Smith. And then you continue to look at it, Mike Evans, and so he's really done a good job as far as getting some very core pieces in here. And I think he's done really well with some of his undrafted free agents that he
Yeah.
signed, Cam Brate, Adam
Adam
Humphries,
Humphries. Yeah.
Tanner Hudson, Anthony Auclair. So he's been able to find guys. I think he's been able to. I just like his mentality
He
again after
drafts in a
make
vacuum.
yeah, and after making mistakes that obviously has been made. I mean, he doesn't sit there and cry about it. He finds a way to fix the problem at hand, and he really attacks it hard. The 2016 draft that didn't work out. Obviously, you only have Ryan Smith from that class,
Mm-hmm.
so that was a tough one. But as he's moved forward here, over the past couple of years, I think he's really put together some valuable draft classes that I think have worked out for the most part so far. And, we just got to hope it continues. And I think he understands where he needs to go. And, really getting Bruce Arians on board and having that staff in place,
Yes.
I think those two really work well together. Um, and it just seems like they have a more cohesive plan as far as how to build this team the right way. And,
Yeah.
really finding core pieces, along on both sides of the ball. And I think he's really figured it out. I got to build it up on both sides and make things more balanced. And I think he's done that for yeah, for the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Yeah. One of the players, and because I do want to move on to the schedule. One of the
Mhm.
players that I really, I'm thinking I wish he ended up going to the Raiders. Now I'm drawing a blank on his goodness.
Carl Nassib.
Carl Nassib. Yeah.
Mhm.
Jesus, Carl Nassib. I had it right on the tip of my tongue. I'm getting old. Carl Nassib, how do you replace a player like him, or do you feel like the Bucs really didn't lose a lot with him, with letting him go to the Raiders?
Well, I think they look at it, obviously they drafted Anthony Nelson last year, and I think
Mm-hmm.
they feel like he's, very similar to Carl Nassib. Obviously they have the same body type and build.
Mm-hmm.
But Carl has a tremendous motor.
Mm-hmm.
So does Anthony Nelson. I mean, he plays,
Yeah.
till the whistle. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pick up the slack and really become that guy that, they're looking for as being that, that third down sub type, kind of guy that can come in and play different roles and play along the defensive front. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. Obviously they're going to be leaning more on JPP and Shaq Barrett. Obviously
Mm-hmm.
those guys don't really come off the field. So I think that's probably how they looked at it. Maybe why they could let, Carl Nassib leave to another team.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they're going to replace him in probably multiple ways where they have, a lot of guys, come in and rotate, whether it be, Patrick O'Connor or, Anthony Nelson, or they still have Cousin Daniels who they like.
Yeah.
So they have
Nacho.
yeah, so a couple of different guys. William Golston, I think, can
Mm.
can play more and get a bigger role this season. So I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, man. Again, there's so much to look forward to. It would be a travesty of justice if the season didn't go through to where we couldn't see this team play.
I know.
But man, there are just so many scenarios right now. With this is like a bizarro world when I look at all the quarterbacks. In my lifetime, just going back to the early '90s, I mean, where I really, really, really got into football, I
Mhm.
have never seen this many quarterbacks, talented quarterbacks in free agency at one time, where quarterbacks have gone from team to team to team, and it's
Yeah.
just crazy to see that. And now you're looking at the NFC South, and I think Matt Ryan, you've got Matt Ryan, you've got Drew Brees, now you have Teddy Bridgewater,
Mhm.
and you have Tom Brady. I mean, this is going to be a really competitive division. And it's really interesting how the NFL has laid out the schedule,
Mhm.
for games that we're going to see, we're going to get to see. Now, the first game, week one is of course the New Orleans Saints, and I think
Mhm.
that's a game that everybody has been talking about for obvious reasons, which I'm not going to go into because we've rehashed that 6 ways to Sunday.
Mhm.
But that's going to be an exciting game for me.
Absolutely.
And I will say the Buccaneers over the past few years, after being swept, what was it, like 6 years in a row or 5 years in a row? I think
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
They started being competitive with the Saints and splitting games throughout the seasons with them. So uh, I'm looking forward to this game. This is one of the more exciting games that the Bucs have coming up. And this will be in New Orleans, so this is going to be a very important game. I think division games early in the season are games that factor in more than other games do. So
Mhm.
definitely something to look forward to. So when you look at what the Saints have done in the offseason, I mean, geez, Mickey Loomis. I hate Mickey Loomis, but I think he's a brilliant general manager
Mhm.
because they've been in salary cap hell for the past decade, and every year they end up getting somebody, and they end up maintaining being competitive.
Mhm.
And just throughout the seasons, there may be some off years, but for the most part, they've maintained being competitive.
Yeah, I mean, they just figure it out, and they find ways, like you said, to sneak guys in there somehow. It's pretty impressive, especially with the Drew Brees contract, and they still have guys that are coming up that they have to sign, and I believe they just let go of Larry Watford, who that gave him some cap flexibility, but
Right.
yeah, they find ways. But I love it that we're starting the season off against them. I think that's a perfect start to the season. I think it's a good measuring stick, and it's really a great opportunity for the Buccaneers to really show that, hey, we are for real, this time, and we're coming for that NFC South crown, and then the next week you got the Carolina Panthers. So I think that's a great way to start the season because division games are critical,
Yeah.
and if you can win those two games, you're right in the driver's seat. From there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
In bringing up the second game of the season, the
Mm.
Carolina Panthers. I've talked with Panther fans, and they're thinking that this team is going to go winless. I don't think the Panthers are
Uh,
that bad,
no,
personally.
no, they'll
I
find a
know the
way to win
majority
big.
of and the majority of people hate Teddy Bridgewater. They're not happy with him coming to Carolina, considering who they had with Cam Newton.
Mm.
So just then this is just their take on it is they're not real thrilled with where everything is headed. But you can, as long as you have a player like a Christian McCaffrey,
Mm.
um, I mean, there's always a possibility of something happening. I'm not going to take anything away from him because you still have to go out and play the game. But that's going to be a really interesting game for me because you're looking at a totally different team. This Carolina Panthers team is not the team from last year, so you don't really know what you have or who you're facing, to be honest.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean they're going to be a different team for sure. Obviously defensively they're going to be different. Losing a Luke Kuechly, and they're going to be having some new pieces in place. I mean they drafted all defensive players, so I think obviously they showed where their priority was. As far as making their team, Matt Rule I think is a good coach, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does. And obviously they felt Teddy Bridgewater was a better fit for what they wanted to do offensively than say a Cam Newton. So
Mm-hmm.
I think and they have some playmakers like you said. Christian McCaffrey's a big part of that. They have a decent offensive line. Obviously they traded Trey Turner and they picked up. I believe they got Russell Okung back in the trade.
Yeah,
So they're going to
exactly.
be different in how they play, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. But yeah, it's still a challenging team. Um, and I think it'll be different, especially how they played under Ron Rivera versus Matt Rule. So you're going to see
Yeah.
some new things for sure.
And the one thing that I've noticed about the moves that Matt Rule has made, these guys are very athletic and they're very fast.
Hmm.
And I think that has been the theme for the majority of the players that have come through that have just signed with Carolina or have been brought in. They are extremely fast and they're extremely athletic, and I think that is the as I mentioned, that's the theme that he's kind of going for here. So it should be really interesting to see how this series goes.
Hmm.
I know that with last year you had a former Bucs player, so a lot more people were paying closer attention to Carolina. But again, this year I think you have a different coach, you have a totally different team, so they
Mhm.
will definitely be a team to watch out for. And in week 3, you've got the Denver Broncos, and that's going to be another one. I mean, this is where you go into the AFC, and it's going to be interesting to see what Denver finally comes up with. I think they've got a really nice squad. They've always have good running game. They always have a good running game, and their
Mhm.
defense is always going to show up. So uh, this is going to be a good test because it is in Mile High. It is at Mile High, so it'll
Right.
definitely be a good test. What are your thoughts on what Denver has done in the offseason? I know that
Mhm.
they've improved at the running back position, a guy that everybody in Twitter world thought was going to come to Tampa and ended up going to Denver. But
Yeah.
what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're an interesting squad as well. Again, they have a young quarterback, and I believe it's Drew Lock that they
Drew Lock.
have, and then obviously they've added to the receiver position heavily with, Jerry Judy, I believe, and I think they also added, I think Hamler, I believe was it Hamler? I have to look that up again, but they definitely made some improvements, and I think they have a solid offensive line in place as well. Defensively, like you said, I mean they got a good pass rushers as far as Bradley Chubb, and still have Von Miller, and they have a very good playmaking secondary that can make plays. So yeah, I think that'll be a good challenge, especially early on. And like you said, it's in Mile High, so that's always a tough place to play. Uh, so Bucks got to be ready for that one.
Oh yeah, man.
It
Any of
won't be
these any
easy.
of these AFC games is going to be tough. I
Yeah.
mean, just when you consider who they're, who you're up against. So,
Mhm.
definitely going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, and get back to where I was. And then the next game, it looks like week 4 will be the Chargers. That's a team right there that, man, the Chargers have made so many. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. This is my show. I'm going to say it. They
Mhm.
made some stupid ass moves. I would have personally staying in San Diego with a fan base that loves you rather than going to Los Angeles and being around a finicky fan base that may like you some of the time, but they
Mhm.
really didn't want you. I mean that's tough to deal with. And then you look at that logo change on top of that. I mean, they've been catching L's for the past couple of years now. To be very honest, I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't. I don't. To me, it doesn't make sense. What their defense is solid, and I will say that their defense is rock solid. But again, I just on offensively, I don't know what they're really doing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think both LA teams are really struggling right now as far as just decision making and offseason moves, etc. So yeah, the Chargers. I don't know. I think they have a lot of good pieces, but I'm
Yeah,
not
but I
sure if
just don't see. I don't
they're
see Tyrod Taylor as the answer there. I mean,
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, if let's say for instance, you've got your rookie, he comes in, he balls out, you go to the playoffs, something happens to him.
Mhm.
Here's a guy Tyrod Taylor, I just don't see him being that guy. I don't, maybe I'm wrong, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to. I know that he has athleticism and he can make plays, but he's just not consistent. And I don't know. I probably want to went a different direction, but he is there, and that's your starter for now. So see how that all works out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and like I was saying, I think they have some solid pieces in place, but I'm just not sure if they're really got a roster put together and what they need to as far as competing and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
So
they're like a couple of seasons away before because you have to deal with Kansas City number one, you have to deal
mhm,
with Denver,
mhm,
and you have to deal with the Raiders, who we'll talk about them sooner or later here, but
yeah.
yeah. And then week 5 is the Jekyll and Hyde of the NFL, the Chicago Bears,
Mhm,
with Mitch Trubisky, who I really believe he needs to take half of his money and send it to Mike Smith, because had he not had that monster game against the Bucs, I really don't believe that people would be looking at him the way. I mean, the vast majority of his stats was off of that game.
Mhm.
It's what it kind of feels like. I shouldn't say that. I mean, he's had good games. There have been games that he's looked good, but then there have been other games and they're like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? So it's going to be really interesting to see this game right here. As a follow up to the game where the Bucs faced them the last time and just got destroyed.
Mhm. Yeah, Mitch. He's. I just don't think he's got it as far as being a quarterback in the NFL. He's just a little bit too up and down, and struggles to make the easy throws, struggles to make the right reads at the right times.
Yeah.
Obviously, they brought in Nick Foles, so maybe he becomes the guy. I mean, just have to wait and see. But yeah, very interesting team. Another team that has some playmakers to work with as far as offensively goes, but just can't really put it together right now. Defensively, they're very strong still.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously have playmakers in like Khalil Mack. You got some guys on the secondary that can make some things happen. So they got some pieces there, but again, it'll be interesting to see how they compete in a division that I think is pretty strong. And Green Bay, and then you have Minnesota, who I think could bounce back, and
Yeah.
Detroit, I think, is coming soon. It depends on quarterback health, with Matthew Stafford, but you know,
And let's not get it twisted. I still hate this division. We're going back to before pre NFC South. I hate this division. I'm serious.
yeah,
I hate
I do.
every single one of those teams on this list. When you're talking about the Bears, the
Uh,
Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions, hate all of them. Thank God Barry Sanders is retired, because he used to upset me the most just because of what he used to do to the Bucs when they play. But honestly, it's kind of like homecoming. But I've got no love for any of the four teams that any of the NFC North teams that we're going to be facing, because I can't stand any of
mhm.
them. So
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love it when we play them. I wish we were kind of in that division still. A lot of great battles amongst those teams. So
yeah, a lot of fist fights at the old sombrero, Tim.
yeah,
Yeah, trust me.
but yeah, it's gonna be fun. Playing the NFC North. I think it's always good, and so yeah, it should be interesting. But yeah, Week 5, Chicago, Thursday night football. Yeah, that should be another good one.
Yeah, and I think for me, the biggest game for me is the Green Bay Packers. I just want the Bucs to curb stomp these jerks, man.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get profane here. I want to, but I'm not going to. But Green Bay, I out of all of them, Green Bay is the team that I just they turn my stomach. So the rest of the teams are a close second, and I'll
Mhm.
combine them all in second. But Green Bay, oh my goodness, that's just. I hope the Bucs can pull this game out, because that would be my Super Bowl if
Right.
I had to say that. But that's going to be interesting. You've got Tom Brady going up against Joe Cool there, and we'll see how that all plays out in Tampa.
Mhm.
So it should be a
Right.
great game. And
Yeah.
then Week 7, we've got the Bucs at the Raiders, and we kind of talked about it off camera. That's going to be an expensive, man. The tickets there are ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. I wouldn't even go tailgate up there. So
Right.
that's going to be a good game. John Gruden versus his former team, and we'll just kind of have to see how that all plays out. I mean, you look at some of the moves that they've made. There's still a lot of uncertainty with the Raiders, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, when
Mm.
you talk about bringing in Marcus Mariota to back up your quarterback, I mean your starting quarterback, at just Carr, it I don't know. I can't tell if Gruden doesn't like Carr or what. I know that was a good move for Mariota to come in and
Mm.
get to sit and potentially be a starter. Was that the right move? I mean, if you're looking at what Mariota did in Tennessee, is that the right move to bring him into the Raiders organization?
Well, I think Gruden, obviously Gruden loves his quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He thinks he can fix everybody. So, I think it's a good move by Mariota. I think he needed a change, and but I think they're still very confident in Derek Carr. I
Yeah.
think Derek Carr is still a very good quarterback. Now you add a Henry Ruggs, which will give them, a vertical element that they were trying to get with Antonio Brown before he
Mm-hmm.
had his,
Mm,
meltdown.
yeah.
So, I think they're putting together a very good roster. They're kind of becoming like the Clemson Raiders. All they do is draft Clemson players. So, um, yeah, I don't know what that's about. They have a love affair for Clemson,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, they're adding talented guys, and again, they should be a team that could surprise if they stay healthy. So that'll be a fun matchup, no doubt. I think that's Sunday Night Football, so that should be really
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
That will be the game to watch. One of the games to watch, and then
Mm.
the rubber band match here. The New York Giants
Yeah.
again. Uh, I expect a different outcome. The Bucs should have won that game last year,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Just that still annoys me. But the Giants, I just don't see where the Giants, match up with the Bucs, at this point. So uh, I don't know. That's going to be one of those. It's going to be an interesting game to watch as well. It's a game the Bucs should have won the last time they faced them, and I have high expectations that they'll win this time. And I'm going to go on record saying that it's my hot take for tonight.
There you go. Yeah.
If I could throw one out there,
Hey, get them in early.
yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be different too. Again, New York is a team that, again, they're putting together good pieces, but I'm just not sure if the roster construction is being done the right way. Uh, they have added to their offensive line. Obviously, I like, getting. Andrew Thomas in there. I think that's a good addition, and obviously they want to help their quarterback Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. They have some pieces on defense, but again, they're a team that I think is a little bit of ways away as far as being that serious contender. But
And
yeah, again,
their division has every team in that division is loaded up.
mhm,
Even Washington loaded up compared
right,
to compared to what New York has done. But
mhm,
again, when you talk about division rivals, I've seen teams that are just like trash, like garbage dumpster trash, and they
yeah,
go in and win games they're not supposed to because it's a division game. And players and coaches and organizations, fans, everybody gets up for these games. So um, they're definitely in it, and it'll be interesting to see how how they fare.
yeah, no doubt. And like you said, that's always a tough division. Again, what was it? I think it was either a couple years ago or last year where I think it was what 7-9 got the division crown. So
Yep,
it's yeah,
they
it's a
beat each
division.
other up.
They do. They do very much so. So yeah, that'll be a good game. Again, that's a Monday night game. So it should be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, I think the Bucks defensive players will be very pumped up for that game.
Mm,
Because they feel probably they let the team down last year as far as
yeah.
giving up that lead. So yeah, it should
Yeah,
be it should be a
and
good
I think you're talking about a totally different defense now. I think
absolutely.
you've got everybody's this buying in, and
Mhm,
they have a purpose now, and they know what they need to do. And
mhm.
I do those. That's why I say I have high expectations for this team, that they will be a lot better than what we saw last year from them. I mean, from coming out of the gates. I would say over the past 5 6 years, the Bucs defensively have come out of the gate slow, and
Mhm.
that's presented a problem along with turnovers and field position and what have you. But they've always come out slow, so I expect a different result this season. God help us that everybody stays healthy. So that's going to be one of those things.
Yeah.
Um, again, the rematch with the New Orleans Saints in Tampa, that's going to be a great game right there.
Mhm.
If both teams are playing good, I wouldn't be surprised to see that game get flexed.
Yeah. Is that not a? believe that's a Sunday night football
Oh,
game.
it is.
Is it
I'm
not?
sorry. It
Yeah,
is an NBC. I'm looking right at it. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
That is
That's one of
a.
yeah, that's one of the perks of the season. I think that's three straight primetime games in a row for the Bucks. So
They got to win
uh,
these games, man. That's the whole
yeah,
thing. When you're
right.
when you're on that stage, you got to win those games.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
important.
Yeah, and that's something the Bucks have struggled with in the past as far as winning
Mm,
on primetime. So
yeah, or
hopefully,
winning overseas.
yeah,
Let's not even talk
yeah.
about that.
Thankfully, no team has to go overseas this year, so that's good. Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully we stay away from overseas for a long time.
yeah,
Going forward.
yeah. That I think they need to focus on what we have here in the U.S. To be honest,
Exactly. So, but yeah, that should be a great matchup. Again,
that's going to be a really good benchmark to where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. The second go around with the New Orleans Saints is
yeah,
going to be a
absolutely.
huge benchmark because this is where you've gotten past the middle of the season. You've seen your injuries. You've got people coming back, and you've gotten a feel for the season or the speed of the game. And this is where hey, we're going to make a run for the playoffs, or are we looking at who we're going to be picking in the draft? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I really hope that the Bucs are in a good position, and injuries are going to be huge. Just making sure that the team is staying healthy and they're doing what they need to do.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's speaking of that, that's something that's unique this year. Having the week 13 bye. A little bit later in the season. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they play that out. Obviously you have a couple mini buys mixed in there. Obviously the Thursday night game with the Bears, and then you have some days off there to rest up. Going from Sunday to a Monday night game, you
Yeah.
have an extra day there. So, those are some nice benefits. I don't like the fact that they have to come off the road from New York on a short week to play New Orleans that next week. That's going to be kind of tough. But, and then I think they have it later on this season when they come back to play Kansas City, even though they're at home. You have a Monday night game against the Rams, and then you have to play Kansas City that following week. So that's kind of tough. But
Yeah.
uh, again, a lot of great matchups, along the season, and it's going to
Yeah.
be very good challenges. And this Bucks team is probably the best team we've had in a very long time, and we got to hope they're up for the challenge. And I believe they are, but we
Mhm.
just got to see, and hopefully they put it all together throughout the season and get better as the weeks go on.
Yeah, this game, and I mean to bypass the Rams. We've that's another rubber match. We've seen the Rams
Uh,
consistently over the past few years, so
right.
you already know what you're getting with the Rams. The Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, Interestingly enough, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not lost to the Chiefs since '93.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
True story. And it's just it's been great to experience all that. But yeah, this is going to be a great game, and here's another benchmark to really see where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. I mean,
Mm.
you've got the World Championship Kansas City Chiefs coming in, high powered offense, and it really gives you an idea of where this team stacks up.
Yeah, no doubt. And hopefully at that point of the season, the Buccaneers, like you said, are in a good position. Hopefully we're competing for a playoff spot or in a playoff position, and it'll be interesting to see how they attack the Chiefs and how they attack us and see what gives. And again, another great matchup of quarterbacks, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes, and those two, had a great game. What was it, 2 years ago? Um,
Yep.
so
And
and
and again, man, you look at this schedule and you look at the quarterbacks that Tampa is going to get to face, and it's exciting. I mean, like I said,
Mhm.
it would just be a travesty of justice if we didn't if fans didn't get to see this year, because
Right.
this is just so unique. With everything that's going on and where we are right now. So
Mhm.
I can't express that enough. That just and there are just so many other games that I'll be watching as well. It'll be really interesting to see that. And of course, you've got the Minnesota Vikings after the bye, and then you've got the Atlanta Falcons,
Mhm.
and that's going to be kind of cool because you've got the Atlanta Falcons on the 15th, or week 15, and then you go to Detroit, and then you go back to Atlanta, or you have the Atlanta Falcons in Tampa to
Mhm.
close out the season. So
Right.
this is going to be a fun season, regardless of if you're the casual fan or you're the diehard. This is just going to be a fun season. Just if everybody can stay healthy and play up to their potential, I think this is going to be great.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, it's very high expectations.
And
You know,
every fan out there should have high expectations right now. We,
absolutely.
I mean, there's no reason to be talking about 500 season. We should be talking about the playoffs or winning in the playoffs or the Super Bowl right now. That should be our conversation if you're a Bucs fan. Just because of all the moves that have been made, all the changes that we've gone through, and we get to this point right here where this is probably the most stacked roster the Bucs have had in over. I know in over a decade. In over a decade at the very least. From top to bottom, I can't think of other than the Super Bowl, maybe thinking about
Mhm.
that defense. I don't know that this team has after post Super Bowl has had a team this stacked.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Again, it's a roster that is probably the most complete we've had in a very long time. Again, there's probably some positions here or there that hey, we could use a little bit more depth. I mean, that's with every NFL team because we do have a salary cap, and it's hard to put a super team out there. But when you look at what we have and you look at the pieces, you look at the key players that obviously you want them you hope that everyone stays healthy, like you said. So you need some luck in there, but it's a really good team when you look at it. And now it's just about can this team put in the work Monday through Saturday and really put it on the field Sunday and do it consistently and be about it as far as those expectations and
Yeah.
rise above them. So they're going to have eyes on them, and that's something that this team really hasn't had in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So you hope that they don't crumble under the pressure and they can you know play above it and,
I
and
I
play good.
really and I really believe that this team, there are players like Devin White, there are players like Levante David that I really hope they get the opportunity to show what they can do. You know,
Mhm.
it's just players like that I really want them to be able to get into the spotlight so people can see what us as Bucks fans have seen
Mhm.
from these guys over the years. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to is hoping that we can get those guys out there and they play up to their potential and we can see what they can do.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's what I was talking about earlier in the show. I just kind of hope we get to see some type of preseason and really get that opportunity for this team to gel early and really get rolling. But yeah, I'm excited, very excited to see how it's going to play out. I think the coaching staff understands this roster better, which is going to be
Yes.
good. And a guy like Tom Brady, you just have so many opportunities to, play different styles and play different ways because of how smart he is with the
Mm-hmm.
football. And it's gonna be pretty cool to see what they do with like Mike Evans and what they do with Chris Godwin and how they're used in different ways that we haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
them been used throughout their careers so far. So again, they're still going to be used to their strengths, but it's just you're going to see some different things that I don't think we've seen in Tampa for a very long time, and
Yeah.
and
Or
and
if
that's
ever, I'm trying to think.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to think. You
yeah,
got you got the quarterback that can get you the ball, and I don't want to hear about arm
yeah,
strength because I
right.
I'm gonna
It
beg to
doesn't
differ on
matter.
the arm. I'm gonna beg to differ on the arm
Yeah,
strength. I think
yeah,
that you have a guy who's a good decision maker. He can read defenses, and
mhm,
he's not gonna give up the ball. So I mean that's my when I look at this team, that's what I'm seeing. I think there were times where unfortunate turnovers occurred,
mhm,
or the defense didn't missed assignments and different things that were going on at the time. I think if they can clean some of that up, this is a team that a lot of teams you're going to have to watch out for the Tampa
mhm.
Bay Buccaneers this year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's really nice to say. It
Yeah,
just it
yeah,
feels good. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, I think every Bucks fan should have a smile on right now, and just it's gonna be nice knowing
Mm.
that this team is gonna be in every game, and that's something that has been in the past. I mean, we've been competitive, but
We're
knowing the
getting over the
fact,
hump, though.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And knowing the fact that we have guys in place that I think is going to help this team, like you said, finish games out.
Mm.
And that's what's going to be very refreshing to see come to fruition this season.
Yeah, I think one thing that we haven't really talked a whole lot about is that large coaching staff that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. I think that's going to play a huge part in the success of this team as well. If I can throw out another hot take out there,
Go ahead.
I'm just throwing them out there, man. But
Yeah,
no,
no problem.
all joking aside, though, man, I think that the Bucks have benefited from this vast coaching staff, and I have to say, with Bruce Arians uh, grooming coaches to become coaches, I think that's very important as well. And that's something that we'll just continue to watch. And the props goes out to those guys and all the hard work that they do and the things that we don't see them do that they're out there doing.
Hmm.
Sean Castillo says he believes Vita Vea will make the Pro Bowl this year. He's another player that I've got my eye on. Devin White and Vita Vea are the other two players that I'm really looking at, other than Ronald Jones. I expect Vita Vea to have a monster season this year if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Vita Vea. Yeah, absolutely. Again, that guy hasn't even reached the surface yet.
Not even close.
Right, right. So, I mean, he's a big boy. He's a guy that he just, I mean, how
We
he's
got
just,
and remember we got flamed because we were happy that this was the pick. And
mhm.
when you look at the team completely, this had to be the move. The defensive line had to be addressed at that time, and I am so happy that he's able to get in there and play and do what we thought he could do.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, he's a guy that has just very rare gifts. A guy that can, he just causes havoc. He's going to take up space. He's going to cause attention. So, I mean, he can do a lot of different things. He's shown a lot of flashes last season and can really be a force if healthy. And I think he will continue to get better. And he allows guys like, Shaq Barrett and JPP do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important. Again, he's going to have games where he doesn't really show up on the stat sheet, but he's going to make an impact every play he's out there. So that's what you want from your defensive lineman.
And the big eye opener for me was just seeing how they stopped the run.
Hmm.
The running game, when I had my concerns at the beginning of the season where I'm like, oh man, we're playing some of these teams with good running backs, and I don't know how this team's going to do. And they came together along that line to really become good run stoppers, and
Right.
and I expect that to improve from last year to this year. So another one of those things, and Vita Vea having a full season under his belt, being 100% healthy, and coming out and doing what he needs to do. I really hope that we get the best out of players who have had to quarantine, but again, we'll just kind of have to wait and see how this all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a process, and hopefully, things go in our favor. Hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to have a training camp, preseason, etc.
Yeah,
And really see what this team is capable of. Again, sky's the limit, and they have just, I mean, so much good things in store that I
yeah,
think they can get to if they put in the right work, and I think
yeah.
they will do. It just seems like guys are motivated,
Hmm. They're
and
hungry.
yeah, very hungry, and yeah,
I didn't say hungry. I said hungry, folks. So don't put that on me.
yeah, there's a difference.
No, and another thing I wanted to throw in here too is Devin White will be 100% healthy. Knock on wood.
Right.
At the
Yeah,
beginning of the
absolutely.
season, I thought that I can't even imagine what he would have been like if he'd had the whole season to play and get up to speed, get up to NFL speed. Just what we saw from him was a sample size of what I
Mhm.
think that Bucs fans can look forward to in the near future. And that, he's one of those guys, and another great pick that the Bucs were able to get, and he's shown his worth. And I think that's something that will benefit this defense for years to come. So we have that. But it's been an hour. I can't believe we've been on here an hour, man. I have missed you being on the show.
Yeah, man. Same here. I missed you
It's
too.
it's been great. I love, guys. If you're not following Real Bucks Talk, you really need to. These guys break it down. I
Mhm.
mean, film study. Uh, you watch their show, and then you can talk to anybody and sound like a genius. So definitely check them out. You guys are, you guys are always welcome on here. We'll talk more. I'll probably try to sneak you on here again as much as I can, not to take you
Yeah.
away from your show, but I really enjoyed having you back on here, man. I think it
Yeah, man.
was it was a whole lot of fun, and I really missed this. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and we'll
Mhm.
go ahead and roll up out of here.
Yeah, I mean, like Gene said, be sure to check out our YouTube channel at Real Bucks Talk. Again, we got some interesting content on there. So it's live stream podcasts. We got film studies of draft prospects that have been selected by the Bucks. We have some other videos that are prospects on other teams. So just really getting started on the YouTube, and we got a lot more to come. So we're really
Yeah, just wait
excited.
till the regular season.
There you go. So yeah, we're really excited about it, and yeah, you can catch us there. Again, social media, you can find us at Real Bucks Talk. So everything's at Real Bucks Talk. That's one word, Real Bucks Talk, and yeah, it's really fun, and yeah, it's been a blast being back on here, Gene, and yeah, I'll
We'll
try
we'll we'll, we'll
I'll
keep it
try not to
regular.
be yeah I'll try not to be a stranger. I know I've been away way too long, so
Yeah, but this was a lot of fun, and
yeah,
as
absolutely,
usual, we had our technical difficulties, and then we had a great show. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll just have to we have to mark that out as that's just pretty much how it's going to be.
That's how
Um,
we roll. Yep.
yeah, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And again, guys, I enjoy the chat. Thank you so much. Sorry for the problems that we were having earlier. That's one of the things you run into when you do a live show. That's why you see so many guys that pre-record their show, but it's not as fun. I'd rather see what you guys are talking about right now, and just be able to chop it up with you guys. So again, be sure to check us out. I promise you, I will have this up on iTunes this evening. It'll probably come up in the morning, but this you will be able to catch this on iTunes. And I promise I'll stop being a lazy ass and start doing this like I'm supposed to, and get this going again. But I think this has been great, man. I mean, other than the pandemic that we're all going through, having civil conversation about football is awesome. So
Mhm.
uh, great show, and again, guys, thank you so much in the chat, and we're gonna go ahead and get out of here.